floor. Members have different needs, wants, desires, and so, I think what he's trying to do here is the art of the possible, which is what we're always trying to do in lawmaking. Removing tier 3 was a pretty big, I think, give. I still think it's a good bill and a strong bill, and my hope is it passes off the floor. I think it's an important bill. I think, and I could talk about housing all day long, so this is like one of the ones I know better, but so shut me up if you want me to. I think when we look at our housing crisis in California and the need for more housing, and we look at our environmental issues and our climate change issues and all these other things and our transportation needs, a bill like SB 79 is one that I think tethers all of those things together, because it says we should be building more multifamily housing, dense housing along our transit corridors, which is good for our environmental goals. It is good public policy. It is good for those communities. It's an inclusive policy. And so all of those things are why I think it's a really important vehicle. It's different than when we started out, but as someone who's done big housing bills, I have yet to put a bill on the governor's desk that didn't have changes. And so, it's my expectation that, with these types of bills, they go through these types of changes, but it's still a very strong, good bill, and my hope is it gets off the floor of the assembly.
Do you have a sense of, the smog Leno bill? Do you have a sense of why that died, or is it environmental concerns?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look. I can't remember exactly, but we can get back to you on that one. Yeah.
I believe it was SB 518, the reparative justice bill. I'm just trying to get it clarity. That was the Bureau removed from under the guidance of the DOJ. Is that what the?
I think so, but let me have Shannon get back to you, because I can't remember exactly the specificity as to why, but I'm not totally positive, but we can get you that answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
But these bills did move along, so
yes, they moved along. They were important bills, I think, from our perspective, from the body's perspective, from leadership's perspective, that we keep moving these bills along, because they're just really important and critical. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there wasn't any financial implications that were barring them, obviously, because they are moving along, right?
Yeah, and I think we're always weighing the cost of something versus the impact, and that's the constant balance with all of these bills. And I think with this suite of bills, these have a big impact. They're important, they're critical, so that's why we wanted to move them forward. So.
How do you, on the reparations bills,
Yep.
both bills advanced, but they set off a pretty fiery debate when they were in the hearings with some of the reparation advocates themselves saying,
Yep.
this is not needed, just give us the compensation already. How do you respond to that?
I would certainly talk to the authors, right? They're the ones managing these bills day in and day out and advocating for them, and I think trying to figure out how we can land this in the most equitable way. And so there is, I think, from our perspective, deference to the authors who are leading the bills, and certainly sort of following their lead as they usher these bills through. But certainly I didn't want to stand in the way.
Yeah. Well, what is your perspective on SB 15 by Senator Richardson, which would the demographic data for specific African American, Black American groups?
Yeah.
What was the deciding factor on moving that?
I'm trying to remember.
SB 515, Senator Laura Richardson.
Can I get back to you on that one, because I can't remember exactly? Okay.
So, on SB 53, the AI safety bill.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a bit about why the audits were removed?
Yeah, I think, there have been ongoing negotiations on that bill. And I think the audit piece was something that was inhibiting further negotiations. And so I think, from all intents and purposes, I think the author wants to get this bill on the governor's desk, get it on his desk in a way that, the governor is going to be signing it. There's been a lot of conversations between, I think, opposition, supporters, both big tech, little tech, a lot of different people involved. And I think the removal of the audits, while I think I certainly agree with having audits, and I think many of us do, I think will help move the negotiations furthermore.
And one question, previously, you said that, there's going to be like a trailer budget bill for kind of the Newton funding with Google that under your deal. There's only 2 weeks left of session.
Yeah.
Is that still happening, or?
And we're still working on the language on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Assemblymember, on Senate Bill 707, that all-encompassing bill.